me and a couple of the guys, we're not the only ones, there's others who've talked, it's been really active on the forums, said, hey, how about we use some gravity feed off the side streams, you know, and get some nice pressure and volume, and use that. And Rich went to the local wardens and said, what about that? And they said, no problem, as long as it doesn't have a motor. Really? No problem. So, I don't know, how many people just in this room have been involved with this project? Raise your hand. How many hours have we got involved in this? Just put an estimate. Man hours.
300.
300 to 500 man hours. Now we've done a bunch of gravity suction mining.
Siphon.
That's easy. Where we set up like a pond, like high banking, we set up a pond and we siphon out of the pond down into a recovery system. Very easy. Very easy. But getting the necessary pressure and volume into a power jet in the river that's going to create a suction to suck the material off the bottom of the river, now that's a whole other story. Of course, when I started, I didn't know. Did you? Nobody. The only person in here who had any idea is the wizard. He knew, but I didn't talk to him. And we started out, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, we started out on this project to feed a pressure volume, a flow of water off a side creek, pressurized with enough volume to run a power jet or a nozzle jet underwater, which would be dredging by the real definition.
Mm-hmm.
That would be suction dredging. We all know that. But by the legal definition, no motor, no dredge. Because they're playing games, you know, they're playing all these games. Anyway, it didn't work. My God, we had all this suction hose, you know, nobody's using any dredges, you know, so there's a lot of suction hose around. Who was in on hauling that 12-inch suction hose way the heck up that hill? Us and how many others? 9 more, you know, and then some of those guys were beefy. Man, you want to talk about hard work. 12-inch up there, man, hooking them all together, running it all down. Barely enough suction to even feel it against your hand. You know? And then we figured it was the jet. So Gary did a couple all-nighters and we built 3 different power jets, you know, trying to find the right pressure volume ratios, you know. Did it work? So, back to Medford and buying more 3-inch PVC, another couple hundred feet. Further up, man, we need more pressure. We need more pressure. Set it all up with really nice feed. How much work did we put into that? Did I set it up so good? Did it work? Every time, I just can't tell you, every single time we knew it was going to work. This time it was we totally overkilled it. You know, we went down there and the suction was just a little bit more. You could drop a little pebble by the suction nozzle, it would just go right by. But we didn't lose hope. There was a couple times we teetered on the edge of losing hope. And then Cliff jumped in, and John Wells jumped in, and we were up there with altimeters. Altimeters, you know. It's all about how high. You got to get up. It's about elevation. Elevation gives you pressure. PSI comes from elevation, you know. We're learning. Slow but sure, you know, we're learning. Got to get up higher. And first we started with GPSs, because the GPS will tell you your elevation. But there were so many trees over us that our GPSs were lying to us. So we went up, you know, we're up there looking at it. This is 100 feet. And then we measured off how much more we needed, and we back off to Medford, we bought a whole bunch more. You know, we're right up there at 100 feet. This was about 2 weeks ago. A lot of work, a lot of gluing, a lot of bridges where these things were crossing, you know, And we got 27 pounds. We got 27 pounds, and that suction will go like this. About like that. Not enough, you know, but 27 pounds. 27 pounds meant we were at 50 feet. GPSs were lying to us. They were lying to us, right? So we went and got an altimeter. Altimeter measures. The problem was this was an altimeter out of an airplane, and it measured in thousands of feet. The first measurement was 1,000.
Oh my God!
So we're climbing up this hill, and we're looking at it. What do you think? Is that 30 feet or 40 feet? You know, we're looking at it. You know. So we go way the heck up. I mean, we go way up there. Another 300 feet. Another 300 feet up the creek. And we bought, my team bought it, 100 feet, 300 feet of 4-inch lay flat. Wow. The reason is because I couldn't afford it anymore at ABS. The stuff just cost too much money. You know, and we didn't know there was going to be any gold there in the first place. You know, there comes this point where, you know, it's just ridiculous. But the lay flat wasn't very expensive. $100 for 100 feet. And we had already had 27 pounds. And John Wells went up there with us and he said, if you put this 300 feet in, you'll add 20 pounds. You know, I was looking at the altimeter, you'll add 20, then you'll have 47 pounds. And 47 pounds on the jet, we were thinking, should have drove that jet, should have drove it. The question was there going to be enough volume? We'd have the pressure, but would we have enough volume? It's a big unknown. They got calculations for this stuff, gallons per minute, but you've got to be a wizard to understand what it means. You know what I mean? For me, it's like, okay, let's try that. And if that doesn't work, then let's get a bigger one, you know? So, Cliff came down for 4 days to help us get this thing in. He came down from Medford, took some time off work, took some time off family down here, you know, and we, the host came in that day. With the first day we went up there. Did we work hard or what? How many times up and down that creek were we?
I carried that 300-foot hose all that in about myself.
Whoa!
300 feet of 4-inch heavy.
Oh my gosh! It was heavy.
150, 180 pounds. One continuous length and a roll. You know, and we got. His nickname is the Animal Man. And his first question was, did we bring a backpack? Because he was going to pack it up there by himself. That's my judge partner. And we didn't have a backpack, so Cliff came up with the idea. He's just a really smart guy, you know. But when it comes to the practical stuff, you know, I'm not 100% sure. He said, let's just cut a stick and two of us can carry that up there. And I went, you won't make it 10 feet, man. And he was already cutting down a tree. Cut down a little tree, you know, and they cut that stick and they put it between him and I stood back and I went, this would be great. I'll take the saw, I'll take the other tools, you know. Right behind you, you know. How far do you guys make it?
50 feet.
10 feet. He was ready to take the whole thing by himself, but it fell off the stick. Anyway, we stretched it out about 10, 12 feet, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We didn't want to damage it, you know, tighten it all together. And then the three of us, you guys are going to see this on video. If you look at the video newsletters, you're going to see it. Diane, where's Diane? She was up there, we got her up there to film us coming up this creek, very steep, three of us. And the best description would be, you know, Chinese laborers. All the way up the creek, falling. How many times did we fall
my
down?
gosh.
Oh, we fell down. Oh, gosh.
My shins are bloody, literally, bleeding.
Anyway, we did get it up there. Cliff had a really good idea. We had set up a feed, capturing all the water out of this creek. If there was any extra water, it was going to overflow. And if you look at this thing now, and you look at how much water's coming out of this creek, you know, not enough to drink. And Cliff, we spent, I don't know, 2 hours up there setting up a feed, you know, it was a good idea, but it wasn't capturing the whole creek, you know. And after we set the whole thing up, and we're sitting back there looking at it, Cliff said, never gonna work. And you gotta listen to him. You gotta listen to him. He's smart. He said, we gotta go back here where the creek gets narrow so we can capture the whole creek. And we gotta dig a hole, and we gotta get that feed down in it, and we gotta build a dam so that the entire creek is going across this feed, so that because it's gonna be less water 3 weeks from now, you know. So we did. We pulled the thing out. We all went to work. We're in there working on it. Another couple hours later, we had a good feed. Came back home, and the 4-inch hose had arrived, and we turned right around, went right back. We were there till dark. Is that yesterday?
Yeah.
We were there till dark yesterday, and man, we have a lot of water coming out of there at the bottom. Another 20 pounds seemed pretty reasonable. It took a little doing, but that lay flat hose opened up. Some minor little kinks, some minor ones, you know. Sure, we would sure like to open those up, but for the most part, you know, blew right up, and the water was just shooting out the bottom. And we hooked it up. We hooked it up to the dredge, and we had double the suction. We had double the suction, but still not enough. But there were problems with the jet. And it wasn't Cliff, it was John Wells who said, unless you fix these, it's never going to work, you know. He wanted to just put a 4-inch dredge in there. We had plenty for a 4. Let's just put a 4 and start getting some gold. But a 5 is so much more than a 4, and I insisted, you know. And so we dragged the jet back. Gary yesterday was working on his car. He's our fabricator. And his car rolled on top of him and right over his head. And what time was that? Quarter after 4 in the afternoon, his car rolled over him. He's a tough guy. He was 100% disabled a couple of years ago, and he was welding my 8-inch dredge together on a walker in our shop, leaning on it and doing the welding. You know, he's the toughest guy I know. He shows up at 4:30 in the morning. You know, he's ringing on my doorbell. I wait. Okay, go ahead, Gary. I'll be out in a couple hours. I'm gonna watch the news. You know. Anyway, last night, I don't know, 7 o'clock, calls me up because we're expecting him to rebuild the jet. He says, Dave, I'm really sorry. I'm not going to be able to make it at 6 in the morning. I'm not going to make it at 6 in the morning. I'm in the hospital. And they're running CAT scans on me. I said, what happened? He says, well, my car rolled over my head. I said, are you okay? He says, I don't know. I'll tell you tomorrow. You know, they still got to do the CAT scans. You know, I got to hang up. You know. Well, this morning he shows up at 8 o'clock. Oh yeah, he's not going to let us work on that jet without 8 o'clock. Give him a hand. He does good.
Yeah.
Anyway, we spent a couple hours on the jet. There was a couple things to make this flow in more straight. The bends are not good. You can get away with bends with a motor, but bends with a gravity feed are poison. And we had some bends in the jet and some other ways that we had configured it at the dredge. And we had a plan. We were working on it. Gary came over, helped. And we took this thing down, and I mean, if it was ever going to work, this was our last chance. This was our last chance. There was nothing else we were going to do today. You see, this place, it's this water that comes down right below a set of rapids. You guys, most of you have been there. It's right at Oak Flat. It's probably a 20-foot drop in bedrock in a series of stair steps. Virgin. Never been touched by man. And 100, 150 yards downstream is where Derek pulled 2 pounds of the most beautiful nuggets you've ever seen. maybe one of the best strikes we've ever seen on the Klamath River, directly in line with where we want to dredge, you know? So we had some motivation to be there, and we put it all together, you know, we were all jacked up. This is the day I was sitting there thinking, you know, too many failures. It's like the 9th try, you know? I'm not getting my hopes up. But inside, my hopes were really up and strong. And I said, if we can't make it work with this 5, we're switching to a 4 this afternoon, right?
Uh-huh.
So we're dropping down to a 4, which would really be a disaster because the difference is enormous, especially when I'm running it. Anyway, we set this whole thing up. We get up there with the boat. You know, we did it all pretty fast. We tied it all in. You know, got it all going. Somebody ran up the hill and turned on, opened up the flow, and the flow came down. Yesterday we had 25 pounds. We got a pressure meter. We had 25 pounds with this very same power jet. 25 pounds is not very much. But we had 25, maybe a little less yesterday, with not very adequate flow. Not enough. Today we had 30. We're looking at it, and it went up to 30. Now, why would it go up to 30? And Cliff and I, we're looking at it going, we've opened up the flows and we've increased the pressure, you know. And we just, as you do, unless you're an absolute genius, you just take those things and set them aside, you know, for later. But the pressure should not have gone up. It should have actually gone down. It should have gone down if we opened the flows up. It should have been less pressure, but it was more pressure, you know. It wasn't enough. In fact, we didn't have as much water flow as yesterday. And we're looking at it, scratching our heads, you know, trying to figure out where we went wrong.
Yeah.
And we started disassembling it because we're going to go get a 4-inch jet and try it.
But Diane, who was there, says, one of your jets is plugged. And nobody else heard her.
Did you
Then
really?
Cliff said, hey, there's no suction. Dave, stick your hand in here. One jet was dead.
That's because when I handed her the jet, I said, make sure that no gravel gets inside. Anyway, so
I'm guilty.
we're taking the thing apart. We pulled the hose off. The suction was substantial without the hose on it. You know, it was dangerous. And I was telling Cliff, you've got to be careful. If you put your hand in there, you might not get it out. You know. And Cliff says, reach in there. This is how these things go. Oh no, we had gravel in the hose, so Animal Man lifted the hose out of the water. We wanted to make sure before we took the hose off that we got all the gravel out, you know. And the hose came out of the water, and when that happens, you lose your prime, and the water was jetting. The power of that jet was unbelievable. It was shooting 25 feet behind the dredge, sideways.
Sideways.
Not straight, sideways. And Cliff says, that shouldn't be shooting sideways. He's a genius. and I was just about to say, no, I've seen him shoot sideways a million times. I've never seen him shoot straight. You know? The way we make them, they always shoot sideways, you know. And he said, well, stick your hand in there and see what the jets are doing, you know, and I do. The jet on one side is so powerful, I can barely touch it. That's the one shooting way out there. And I go to the one on the other side, there's absolutely nothing coming on it. It's dead. The rocks got into the jet. So, I mean, we were ready to give up. It was right at the end. We were ready to give up. And we realized there's something wrong. So we're pulling the hose off that side, and we look down in there, and there must have been 12 rocks, little rocks in there that were completely plugged off one side. So we only had one jet, and that's what pushed the pressure up to 30 pounds. Totally explained it. So we're banging on it, and Cliff reached down in there with a screwdriver, and we knocked it out, put the thing together, put the thing back on, opened up the flow. Before we put the suction hose on, opened up the flow, and if you put your hand anywhere near that intake, you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
You're lose it. Cut it right off. The power out of this thing, you know. So we put the hose on, put the hose on. Animal Man went down there and started pumping gravel, and we had it. We had it. Big difference.
Yeah.
One of the most difficult projects that I've ever been involved with, but we pulled it off. So we only had one tank of
Yeah.
breathing air.
Compressed
Cliff and I
air.
went down. I don't know how he got left out of the equation. I guess it's just because Cliff's down just for a couple of days. Cliff and I went down, and we moved a couple rocks. We were maybe down there for a little bit less than an hour, just trying to get a hole opened up. Went right into virgin material, following the bedrock down. The bedrock was going down on a slant. We didn't hit the bottom. Tomorrow we'll hit the bottom. Nice big rocks. We're rolling them out of the way. Boy, is it the right kind of material. And Cliff and I are down here, and we're following just this little crack that's on the bedrock side. It's just a little crack like this, you know, all full of rocks. And I got the nozzle there, and Cliff's in there with a bar, banging it out, banging it out, banging it out. And that was when we saw the first nugget. And I swear to God, I'm not into hugging men. But we were hugging down there underwater.
What about the boyfriend?
We were so
Oh,
jacked.
God.
We were so jacked. And then we come up yelling, right? You guys? We got nuggets! Anyway, these are the same, according to Derek, it's the same material. Not as big yet, but I'm sure you got a lot of stuff this size. Very same material that it's a continuation of what Derek was in, only we've got 20 stair steps in front of us, you know, so we'll spend a week, maybe a week and a half getting this hole opened up and see what we have. And if it's high grade, since it's totally legal, if it's high grade, then we will organize some 49er days out there. Like some 2-day projects, free. And we're gonna get it on video, right? We're gonna split the gold, and we're gonna get you guys coming out. We'll get the drone there, the whole works. You know what I mean? We'll get you guys coming out with the nuggets in your hands, you know, screaming, and that's the best way to get even with our enemies. There's no better way. Okay, and that's the plan for this season. All I need to do is see the first pocket, and I'm committed till December. We're going flat out till December.
You still falling inside down and you hit bottom yet?
We haven't hit bottom yet.
How deep were you?
Only this far.
Until you hit bottom.
We only had an hour, about an hour. We're just getting started. We're barely, you know, but by tomorrow we should really have it opened up. And then we're going into next week. When we get it opened up to where it's safe, as long as it's as high grade as I think it's going to be, then we're going to get all the 49ers involved. Anybody who would like to come out, you know, like on 2-day projects, because some people it takes more than 1 day, even to get their face in the water. Right? Not everybody just jumps right in. And so that's the news. We have good reason to hope. We have a dredging machine that is totally legal. I'm not sure anybody's ever done it before. If they have, boy, did they work hard at it. I'll tell you that. And that's the good news. How about that?